Hello, my name is Noah, also known in game and in Discord and basically everywhere else as NJ Dager. I'm one of the admins on Greenfield.
And I am David, known as Staples on the Discord and on the server, if you've seen me. I'm also one of the admins on the team.
Yeah, so this is a new video format we are trying out. The main point is to give periodic project updates so you aren't left completely in darkness about the project for multiple years on end, mainly due to the length of our update cycles. The updates we're going to be giving today just include nice cinematic shots of the things we've built and giving more in-depth details about the planning process of different parts of the map. With that being said, we have been working on the current update for about a year and 3/4.
Yeah.
So hopefully this project update will bring you up to speed on where we are.
Yeah. So the update we're working on right now, the idea is that we're redoing the center of the map because all of the things we've done since 5.2, we did it knowingly that it was supposed to feel like a Californian city, but the center of the city didn't have that in mind when it was designed, and also since it was so old, like the building quality is far below what we have built after that. So we decided to redo the center, and as you can see here on screen, if we compare this update right now to last update, we've reshaped the entire landmass. And so the centerpiece of this update, of course, is the downtown area with like much larger buildings. They're about twice as tall as the tallest buildings, and they're a lot more interesting. We don't have any more stacked interiors, so they're more fun to explore. When we release it, you'll have a ton of fun looking around it. But it also, of course, includes the areas around it, and we've added the terrain around the city, which should also help tie it all together. But we'll get to all of these points in a bit.
Yeah. Along with that point of like the stacked interiors, for instance, that's part of the reason why this update is taking so long. I think we're like a year and a half in or something. I can't remember how far we in. Yeah, that's one big culprit as to why this update is taking so long compared to prior updates, and will likely take about the same amount of time in addition to what we've currently taken. So yeah, and all of our quality updates unfortunately results in a much lengthier update process. So we're working on multiple internal things to help speed that up. But yeah, so that's kind of where we sit. But I guess to kind of piggyback off of the whole downtown rework, when it comes to the downtown being redone, we kind of just tore out the whole center of the whole map. And when you do that, you just need to rewire in the entire new downtown with what already existed in the city before.
Yeah, make sure there's a good transition so it feels natural.
Yeah. So a lot of the areas around, every single area around the original downtown has basically been reworked and torn out. And we'll go through each of those areas briefly throughout this video. But one of those first areas that we ended up redoing at all this whole update was the Ashfield East and Glenview regions. Ashfield East it's mostly done. It's more done than what downtown is, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's just one or two buildings that aren't like relatively finished.
Yeah. Everything else that is flagged as if it needs work done yet is mostly just like minor details. But yeah, a vast majority of at least Ashfield East is pretty well complete. In addition to that, the road detailing has began there to some degree, at least much further than it has been worked on in other regions of the map currently. So we've definitely gotten pretty far on the Ashfield East portion of things. In addition to that, we've also redone kind of the entire waterfront of both Ashfield Central and Ashfield East to accommodate with the new landmass and the new water and bay that's all around the areas. But in addition to Ashfield East, we also have Glenview, which Glenview's, I think we clean slated Glenview, if I remember correctly. We completely wiped out what was there originally. I don't know if there's anything that actually exists from old Glenview.
I think the high school, but it's been updated.
Oh, yeah.
But like the bones of that is still old Glenview.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I know off the top of my head, though.
Yeah. So Glenview's sitting at a pretty good spot. Most things there are done. We're kind of sitting around the same position where we have a few builds here and there that still have not been worked on, and a few others that just need touch-ups and fixes before they're considered done. But just east of Glenview, we used to have another warp called I think Sunnyside, and that was a bunch of like mansion type buildings. We've decided to completely rework that whole side of Glenview and what was Sunnyside into a new area called Del Rey. This new area is a much more dense urban development. David, you can probably give a little more information on the details with that.
Yeah, so with the new shape of the land masses, suddenly, it makes a lot more sense for shipping traffic and things like that to have gone into the Del Rey area earlier. But then, there's some warehouses and stuff like that for the shipping industry. But then, as the city grew and more bridges started appearing, it became less and less attractive to ship things there because smaller and smaller ships would be able to get there. So it would have fallen into disrepair. But now it's in a process of gentrification where the old warehouses are either being torn down and replaced with new apartment buildings, or they're being converted into offices. So that area will be a pretty upscale, gentrified, former industrial area.
Yeah. But that pretty much does it for, I think, the northern parts of downtown update-wise. We'll touch on a few more specific details when it comes to infrastructure and whatnot later this video, but I guess the next area, I'll kick that off to you as well, David.
So Eastside, as the name implies, is the area to the east of downtown, and it's a pretty important area because it's the sort of density gradient that takes us down from the downtown density down to the density of the suburbs in Dawson and Rio Pueblo. Not Rio Pueblo, sorry, Ramona. It's pretty heavily inspired by the similar areas around San Francisco, around the highways, around the downtown area. And it's pretty far along. Like, most of the stuff in the center of Eastside is almost done. There's a few buildings here and there and some details. But we're getting close to where we're finishing that, and then we're going to start working on the area to the south of that called Sonora, which is going to be partially inspired by Long Beach and have some larger hotels and a convention center, as well as a small marina. And then also just some pretty normal Southern Californian, like medium density buildings, also helping with that transition into the suburbs. And then to the north, we are going to have the new large hospital for the city, which we haven't started working on yet. You can see this big black area here on the map. And then next to that, there will be an area called Chandler Heights that will have a bunch more older homes. Think like the Painted Ladies in San Francisco, for example.
Yeah. I guess continuing down the list of the less amount of stuff we've worked on, Barron's Bar is kind of the next area we're still actively planning. As you can see on screen, it's pretty much just been entirely clean slated. The only thing that's actually here at this point is just the road system, and that's mostly just because we're still working out how exactly we want this road system to work. So the main things we only have at this point are just the interstates planned out and some of the main roads that we plan on connecting with like downtown and whatnot. We have a few tunnels that are going to downtown, so there's still a lot of things up in the air, and I don't imagine we're going to be starting this anytime super soon. I think we're going to want to hit...
It'll probably be after the entire eastern side of the downtown area is done.
Yeah, there's just quite a bit. There's still quite a bit to figure out with this area versus those other areas. So
the reason it's changing is, firstly, the stuff that was there before was pretty heavily like Detroit inspired. It was before the city was properly a Californian city. Mm-hmm. And also, of course, the coastline has shifted massively to account for a more realistic scale that we have now, and that downtown looks different. And so now the area, it'll still be like the older industrial center of Greenfield, But being a western city, Greenfield would have had a massive shipbuilding industry during the Second World War, which we didn't have previously. So that'll be worked in, and that will be a development being gentrified into something else, similar to the Battersea development in London. And it will have a new cruise terminal, so we will still have a cruise ship on the map, which will hopefully be a lot nicer than the last one. But like those are the ideas we have now, but we haven't started implementing them or started working on the specifics of how that'll look or work.
Yeah, there's a good chance like some of those big ticket items may be held off for a different update if we feel like we need to shorten this update a little bit. But that's it again. Yeah, it's still mostly up in the air. Definitely nothing set in stone yet. I guess the next big thing we've been working on this update are some pretty massive transit and infrastructure changes throughout the update. You've probably seen in some of the footage, the highways are completely different from what we've had, and you may have also heard from prior. I think our previous Q&A touched on this. The whole transit system, how it basically hasn't been functional for the last like 8 or 9 years or something. We've basically said that we're putting it on hold until we officially redo the whole thing all at once. We'll have a separate video dig into the whole transit side of things because there's a lot of changes that comes along with it. But in short, transit-wise, we're actually implementing all of the changes this update. So when this update's complete, you will have a full-on transit network that will be working and functional, unlike prior updates in the past. So that's a good plus there. The things I've been working on more are on the infrastructure side, so highways, road networks, and things of that nature. As you can see, we've pretty much had to touch every single interstate that existed on the entire map this update. So that highway that used to cut through, it actually used to cut through Ashfield Central and straight through Glenview. That whole highway has been completely ripped out. So it doesn't exist anymore. What we ended up doing is the highway that was running just, I think it was just west of Sunnyside, rather than making that cut right and hook into in between Ashfield and Glenview, we actually make that just be the highway that cuts straight into downtown. So that now cuts straight down and cuts way far east of downtown. So this time, our downtown has a much more continuous, unobstructed, highway-free region that has one highway on kind of the outskirt of downtown, so it doesn't affect anything too intensely. In addition to that, I also think it's much better, it's much more integrated with the road network of downtown, so the amount of ramps we have going into downtown are much more realistic for what you'd see in Los Angeles, for instance. That's primarily where I took a lot of the inspiration for all of these ramps. So a lot of tight turns, a lot of really low what's the term? Like low height, low clearance ramps going in and out of that highway. In addition to that, we've also redone pretty much the entire highway that's south of downtown, and we've made it have this very lovely bridge. David and I ended up working on this bridge, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago or something like that.
Almost a year.
Was it almost a year? Dang.
Yeah, it was a fall.
Well, we made this wonderful bridge. It's a double-decker bridge. It's a great entrance to the whole city, so we're really excited to see what that turns out to look like when the city's all complete. But that bridge directly leads over to the Barron Spar area and back into where we're currently doing our heavy development. The highway's pretty much set in stone. We have a few more ramps to put in. But other than that, like, that side of the infrastructure is pretty much planned out. One of the last changes when it came to infrastructure, this update, was the highways in Ashfield West. Those have changed quite a bit, mostly due to the issues, or not really the issues, but mostly due to the changes that had to happen in Barron Spar. The fact we had a clean slate Barron Spar means we had to remove the primary highway that was cutting north in Barron Spar. That went straight into Ashfield West and Clinton. That had to be removed because we just don't have the room for it anymore. So that once big triangular section of highway that you found in Springfield and Ashfield West and Clinton, that's all been, well, the builds are there. The highway that made it triangular is no longer there. So we've redone that, and we're also working in, as you can probably see, we were working in a few more transit changes when it comes to that as well. So still quite a bit of development going on here. The highway's pretty much set in stone. Transit's still big work in progress. But yeah, that's kind of where we sit infrastructure-wise.
Yeah, and then there's Santa Cecilia.
Oh yeah, God. Santa Cecilia is another interesting region. If you'd followed the update from when we started it, you may have noticed that we A, clean slated everything, and then B, we just immediately started going towards working on what used to be Longport Keys. The reason why we did this was because it was the most out of the way area that we thought could just kind of be its own thing and not have to worry about what was north of it in downtown and whatnot. After a few months of working in this new area, which is now called Santa Cecilia, we realized that we actually don't think we could work on it without having the downtown above it worked on much more and having it more flushed out. Main reason being we were having issues determining how dense to make this area. And I think we just had some general disagreements of how we should really design this area. So after a few months of working on it, we decided to put a hold on working in this area at all, for now at least. And the chances are that area most likely won't be worked on for, it's probably going to be one of the last areas, I imagine.
Yeah, it'll probably be the last area, I believe.
Because I think even at this point, we're not even certain if we like the current landmass of it. So we're gonna wait to work on it until we have more of the surroundings done. Then we can kind of see how we think we need to structure this area to make it fit a little better in the map on the grand scheme of things. So, but yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the update that we have.
From a high level view.
Yeah, and I imagine if we do future videos of this, we may get more specific just due to the length of time we have to cover would be a lot less. Like right now we're trying to compress a year and a half of work into a hopefully not too long of a video. So I think we would be more specific at some point when we do these videos again. But yeah, I will say if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments if you want us to address them in the coming video or in any coming videos. Or if you want them answered even more quickly, you can also mention us in the Discord. We have a Q&A channel in there that you can just pop questions in and out, and we can hopefully answer them for you. But yeah, I think that pretty much concludes the update that we have for you so far. So hopefully we'll try to get around to doing a few more of these as this update progresses. Not really sure on the cadence or anything. We'll just kind of gauge how much work we get done, and if we feel we need another video to give an update, we'll make one. But yeah.
Thank you for caring about the project and watching to the end.
Yeah, we appreciate it. See ya.